Hello everyone. Let's discuss about data control language. Now, as you have seen, the SQL commands can be categorized into DDL, DML, DCL and TCL. We have already understood DDL, DML and TCL commands. Let's today discuss about DCL. DCL stands for Data Control Language. When we say control, it is like allowing different users different privileges for the access of the stored data. The database administrator can implement DCL commands to add or remove database permission for a specific user who uses the database when required. These permissions or privileges can be given to different users on different database objects, either on all tables of the complete database or on selected tables, or selected commands can be executed, or all commands can be executed. All these kinds of permissions can be provided, provisions can be provided. So basically, to ensure security at various granular levels, DCL commands are used. The two types of commands in MySQL are grant and revoke. So especially when several users access the database, it enables the administrator to manage the access control. So grant, as the name says, is used to give, provide privileges or permission, and revoke is used to take it back. Let's see what is grant. So this command allows the administrator to assign particular privileges or permissions over a database object such as a table, view or procedures. So it enables the system administrator to assign privileges and roles to the MySQL user account so that they can use the assigned permission on the database whenever required as per their permissions that are granted to them. So the syntax would be grant privilege names. As we said, it can be one or more privileges. So privilege names on which particular object and to which user. This is how the syntax of grant. So when I say privilege, it specifies the access rights or the grants that you are providing to the user account. So it can be like multiple. If you are giving all the permission, we will simply say all. But if you have selected procedure, selected permissions, single, just mention that. More than one, separate them with comma. Say for example, you wanted to give insert, update and select. No delete permission. So you say insert, comma, update, comma, select. Object, when I say, it can be the objects like table or view or the procedures and functions on which you are giving them the permission. Sometimes, as I earlier told, we can only give execute function or call function privilege on that procedure or function without giving them access to the table directly. It is also possible. So the object on which you are providing this privilege, and finally the user account, that is to which particular user you are giving these access rights or you are granting these access rights. So let's try to see an example. So for that, I would just like to create one new user named savvy@localhost. Okay, you can give a identified by, this is like a user identification number. Okay, so now we will just execute show grant. Before we start allocating permissions, we will just run this because the user is newly created, and if you see this show grant, it is showing here usage on star dot star. So usage means user can log into the database but does not have any privileges as on now. So this is how it is being shown. So when I am trying show grants for that particular user, okay. So we will just try to run that here and see. Show grants at the rate okay, sorry, grants for for SAVI@localhost. Okay, this particular host has been deleted. Okay, space. Okay, usage on star dot star. On this it says the user does not have any permission allocated as on now. So now how do I allot this permission? I can say when I want to allocate all the permission on this database IT2B for all the tables, I am just saying grant all on IT2B.star. That means you give the rights to create tables, insert, delete existing table, access, select on it, or any procedures that are stored on this particular database. Everything you have the permissions. So that is what is grant all means. So when I say grant all on IT2B.star, here dot star says all the tables and procedures that are stored as a part of this particular data table to this user SAVI@localhost. Now if you see, it is saying grant all privileges on IT2B.star. That means you have assigned all the privileges to all the tables in IT2B for this particular user. Now coming to this, you can only provide selected privileges. Say you are only giving grant select on EMP. So only on this EMP table, not all the tables, and the permission that you are giving is only select. Okay? So, or you wanted select, insert and update on this particular table or any other table or all the tables, you can specify that. So I mean to say, if you are saying here and IT2B.star, it says you can insert data, update data as well as access the data through select query, but you cannot delete any of the records or you cannot drop the tables. Okay, so it is giving this. Now, or look at this, we can only provide permissions on procedures or functions that are stored in your database. So grant execute on function calculate salary. This is the name of the function. Okay, to this particular user. So you are giving execute permission for this particular function. So when you have not given it as all, then individually you need to give each and every permission as per the requirement. But this is how grant can be used for allocating or providing, assigning permissions and privileges to users. Anyway, once you have given the user permissions, you should also be able to take it back. So that command is called as revoke. So revoke is used to take away the privileges that are given. So it enables the database administrator to remove the previously provided privileges or permissions from the user over a database or over a database objects, individual objects. If you see there, earlier we had given permission on only EMP table. So only from that EMP table you can remove the permissions. It's like that. The revoke command prevents the user from accessing or performing a specific operation on an element in the database. So in simple, when you are saying, it terminates the ability of the user to perform the mentioned SQL command in revoke query on the database or its components. So as long as the permissions were there, he was able to access, but the moment you say revoke, then no more he will be capable of performing that particular action on that particular object. So the primary reason for implementing revoke query is to ensure the data's security and integrity. Say for example, you have given provisions, permissions for the user, but user wants to quit the organization. Then he should not be allowed to access all the data of the company. So all the permissions given to him has to be revoked and the user account should be deactivated or deleted. So revoke is used for removing, or otherwise he was shifted from one project to other. So the permissions given on this particular project content should be revoked and new project content permissions can be granted. So this is the use of revoke. How do we use revoke? It is again like grant. Here also we have revoke, privilege names, on object, from the user. There it was to the user, here it is from the user. So privileges are the access rights, object is the database object and the user account. Let's try to see the example. So I just say revoke all grant option from savvy@localhost. So we are just saying that we want to revoke all the permissions, all the options that was granted to them. So if you see, it has again come back to only usage. Account is still there. So they'll be able to log in, but they won't be able to perform any action. Or we can specifically remove the privileges individually, say revoke insert on EMP from this particular user. So here it is the from keyword, so that from this particular user you will revoke the insert privilege which was actually given on the EMP table. So once this is executed, the user will be no longer able to insert records into the EMP tables. Okay. So this particular grant and revoke is also a part of your practical portion. So please see to that all the specified problems as per your lab syllabus is executed using this grant and revoke command. So now let us finally see the advantages and disadvantages of DCL commands, that is access rights, permission, granting and revoking. So first and foremost is security. The primary reason is that the database administrator should be able to manage the access to the database and its objects between different users in order to ensure security and integrity. Again, granular control, you can decide who should be given what level of permission. Now say for example, when we are talking about your student contents access, students are given basic level of permission where they'll be able to only view the content, let it be your marks or attendance. Whereas teachers will have one level higher where they will be able to edit, upload the attendance and marks, or otherwise change that, modify that. All these updations can also be provided. So when we are talking about these access rights, different users can be given access or privileges at various granular levels. Flexibility, as we mentioned earlier, it provides the flexibility to the administrator to allow the access of the database by different users at different levels. You can just say that they will not be accessing the table, but they will be able to run all the procedures that are defined on that table. They will not be able to insert or delete, but they will be able to update or view the data stored in the table. So like this, flexibility of access rights or access levels can be used. The disadvantages would be complexity and time taken. Complexity because managing and keeping track of the permissions and the privileges provided to each and every user in a multi-user system is going to be very, very complex. And this assigning permission and revoking permission from users after use and things like this will be again time consuming. It can also lead to the risk of human errors because by mistake, with the little spelling mistake or anything, access to unauthorized users or unintended restrictions are imposed on access to data. All these things may become due to human errors. Then lack of audit trails. This is no built-in mechanism to track the changes to the privileges and the permission. So thus it is extremely difficult to determine who has access to the data when that access was granted or revoked. Long back you have associated or given permissions, you even forget about it. So accessing or unknowingly when they access the data only you realize that, oh, I forgot to remove the permission from them. All these kind of things. So these are going to be the disadvantages. But anyway, whenever we have something good associated with it would be the difficulty and hindrances also. But when we see the benefits that it provides, these hindrances are always negligible. So careful usage of the technology will always provide benefits to the system. So make sure that as a part of your practical syllabus, you complete this data control language commands as well. Thank you.